Hey everybody, welcome to Inferno Cast episode 008. I am of course Inferno Fox. I am the owner of this YouTube site, and you are also possibly hearing us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music, where all podcasts are available. And tonight we have a fun topic. Actually, as of 8 episodes, I don't know if we've ever had a not fun topic, but we got a fun topic tonight, and we're going to be talking about video games based off of movies and TV shows. And it's really going to be a lot of fun. But before we get into that, I'd like to introduce my esteemed cast. First, we have Simbu Darkfang. He is, of course, our level 5 grandpa and a main actor at Basement of the Dead in Aurora, Illinois. That, again, is Basement of the Dead at Aurora, Illinois. Simbu, thank you so much for joining us.
I'm happy to be here on this cruise ship. The shrimp is horrendous, by the way. Oh, wait, we're on a podcast. Never mind.
Don't eat the shrimp. Never eat the shrimp, especially buffet style. You don't know how long it's been sitting there. We also have Stormrosesky. She has her Twitch and YouTube channels of Stormrosesky. Storm, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, I'm glad to be here, and this is going to be fun, I think.
And we're always glad to have you on here with us. Next, we have Jason the 13th. He, of course, has his YouTube channel, Jason the 13th, for any and all gameplay videos for Fork Knife, Pokemon, and some Tears of the Kingdom. Jason, thank you so much for joining us.
Not a problem. Happy to be here. Although my recording's been very slow, I've been very busy lately.
Oh, man, I can totally feel that. We also have Astrimedes. He is a developer and co-owner of Second Place Games. Astrimedes, thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be here.
And finally, last and definitely not least, we have Jamie Owls. She is, of course, my partner and partner in crime. Jamie Owls, thank you for joining us.
Hello, thanks for having me again. I'm looking forward to talk about more video games.
Yes, and definitely looking forward to having a great discussion with 5 fantastic fans of video games. And tonight's topic is in celebration of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is releasing this week on Friday, August 18th. And this game, of course, is based on the 1974 movie of the same name. And the topic specifically for today is in honor of that, video games based off of movies and TV shows. But first, before we get into that, my question of the day to start us off, preliminary, is what video games are you guys playing right now? Astrimedes, what are you playing right now?
Playing Move the Cat Out of the Way so I can speak. And then
So Cat Quest.
I've actually been playing oddly. So I mentioned before I have a compulsive search for deck builder card games, it seems, digital deck builder card games over the last however many months. And I ended up I started looking more in the direction of Slay the Spire. I kind of was looking at Hearthstone equivalent games and started kind of looking more at Slay the Spire equivalent games. I found this game called Dawncasters on Android. It's not a free to play game. It costs I think $5, and it is a single player deck builder game with it has a lot of classes, and it's surprisingly good. It touts itself as like a mobile first, designed for mobile game, and like it's portrait display, and like it's true, everything makes perfect sense on mobile. They had sensical controls. Yep. But yeah, it's better than expected, I would say. I certainly wouldn't say it's as good as like a Slay the Spire or something like that, but I have gotten much more mileage than I ever would have expected. I'm very willing to throw a few dollars at a game, like being a unsuccessful game developer myself. I can appreciate the effort that goes into these things. So I threw $5 at it, and I probably sunk maybe a dozen hours into it at this point over the course of the last week or so, whatever I've been playing it. So
Nice.
That's about all I've actually been playing.
Nice. So it's kind of one of those diamonds in the rough sort of game. You don't think it's better than what you could imagine it being.
Yeah, and it's aping a genre that has like a lot of like clones and little entries into the genre after the explosion of games like Slay the Spire and everything, but very few that are worth anything ultimately in terms of quality. And this one is surprising.
Nice, excellent.
So it's
Hey,
Dawncasters on Android.
oh, nice, Dawncasters. Storm, what are you currently playing right now?
Right now, I'm going through Immortals Phoenix Rising on PlayStation, and I've also really been playing a lot of The Sims. Um, yeah, I gave up on SpongeBob a little bit because his voice and a whole bunch of other little things in the game were annoying. So yeah, I'm switching back and forth between Immortals Phoenix Rising, Fortnite, of course, standard, and the Sims 4. I recently made Sheldon Cooper as a Sim, and I have Amy Fowler as a Sim. They're at least in the same neighborhood. I figured out how to do that. I did create a family that had a kid right away. They had a science baby, which made me laugh. But I'm gonna delete that house because there's too many Sims to take care of. And I'm like, no, I was playing around with it because I hadn't played with it much before. So I'm getting used to the building and whatnot. But yeah, that's about it. Immortals Phoenix Rising I did play on the Switch, so going through that on PlayStation, I just noticed like the graphic detail differences a little bit, but I mean the game was beautiful on the Switch, so it is just as beautiful on the PlayStation, probably a little bit crisper. And yeah, that's about it.
Nice. Yeah, it's a shame that they canceled the sequel that they were developing for Immortals Phoenix Rising, but who knows, maybe it'll redevelop or get back into that. I couldn't say, but it was definitely a really great game for what it was or what it is.
There are a couple of DLCs on the Switch. I got the whole complete package. They had the whole thing on sale once, this $100 package for $20. So I got it.
Nice.
But the DLCs on the PlayStation, I don't have all of those. They are continuations of the story, and I've only gotten into one of those on the Switch, and it was just there's a whole bunch more to do and different storyline. I know there was one to do with the Asian countries and some of their gods and myths, goddesses and myths and stuff over there. But the dialogue between Zeus and Prometheus in this game it's great. I love it. So there you go.
Awesome. Excellent. Simbu, how about you? What games are you currently playing right now?
Well, Fortnite obviously is, one that I play. However, lately not as much because not really piquing my interest this season at the late game stages, I should say. Um, I'm playing Tower of Fantasy, which just came out not long ago, free to play for PlayStation, which is kind of like a Genshin Impact clone, so a gotcha game. It's not bad. It's kind of fun. Let's see. Hold on. I don't know. It's hard to tell when I'm playing sometimes. Tiger Woods 2K23, and of course Disney Speedstormers. I've been playing that religiously. It is great. This season is Lilo and Stitch. So Lilo, Stitch, Jumba, Gantu, and Angel, otherwise known as 624, have all made it onto the Speedstormer tracks, and it's a lot of fun. It's a Mario Kart clone, but Disney style, and it's a lot of fun. Coming September 28th, Speedstormers will be free to play for everyone.
Yeah, and it should be worth noting that out of all the Mario clones currently available, the Disney entry is actually really one of the better ones, like currently out, because the one that kind of caught my interest last year was the Chocobo GP game, and it had a good base, but it's one of the things with Square Enix and a lot of like that kind of gotcha game mentality is it's money first is what they go for and try and bilk you out of, versus the actual like, okay, what kind of experience can we extend beyond that? Whereas with the Disney racer, I felt like the Disney one is doing that much better. And Simbu, admittedly, I've only done like about an hour of the Disney one. I've done about 3 hours of the Chocobo GP, and that's kind of been my experience.
Yeah. I know that it was, I think it still might be a free 2-hour trial if you have PlayStation Premium. I believe that Game Pass got a free, like, free founder load, like cheap free founders pack for Xbox Game Pass at one point. I don't know if they still have that promotion available. But I bought the founders packs, or two of the founders packs, I should say, when they were all on sale. It was like a $70 pack for like $35. And then the starter pack was, instead of $30, it was like 15.
Oh, nice. So you're like getting the game for $50 when games are typically 60 or 70.
Yeah.
Right. And again, this game will go free to play September 28th. It has been confirmed by Disney and online and everything, not just leakers and code data miners and stuff. So it's official. But again, founders packs, you get early access to the game, which is not a bad way to do it, if you ask me. Because usually it's a bit cheaper, and you get some decent bonuses out of the founders packs.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely a good game to check out. Jamie Owls, what games are you currently playing? And I'm, of course, let everyone know what you're playing right now.
Well, kind of playing a little different things here and there. As you know, as I mentioned past couple podcasts, I've been playing Animal Crossing. A little bit of The Sims. About a week ago, I started a game called Biomutant. I think it was part of the PlayStation free downloads. I want to say back in June or July. That one's okay. I really am not in the mood to start like something brand new. So I play through the tutorial. I might get back to that sometime over the weekend. I just haven't been in the mood. I also started to replay Skyrim again. The other day I just had a hankering to play more of it, and also because of the music, how beautiful it is, it makes me want to go back into that world. But yeah, just just playing games I played before. I might, over the weekend play Biomutant. I might try something brand new again on my Switch. Haven't decided yet, but those are the games I'm currently playing right now.
Nice. Yeah, I saw because the PlayStation shop is doing a huge summer sale, and as it kind of sunsets, they keep adding more and more games to it. We had the physical copy of Skyrim, but the digital one normally is $40, was $10. So I'm like, we don't have to deal with the disc anymore, as bad as that sounds. So I spent the $10 to get us Skyrim, and then they're like, oh, here's the PS5 copy for free, upgrade and use that instead. So now there's a considerable difference in the PS5 version versus the PS4 from what I've seen, where normally loading in Skyrim, it's notoriously long. It's about half a second to maybe a second at the most, and the resolution, you can tell it clearly is 4K. It's almost like playing on a mid-range strength level gaming PC. It looks really nice. So, Jason, what are you currently playing right now?
Well, between my busy work schedule at the moment, of course, I've getting a little bit more Tears of the Kingdom and Pokemon in, but I did start Pikmin 4 up. So
Excellent.
That's always it's not one that I'll probably do any streaming or like recording of, but it is just a fun puzzle game.
Yeah, because you're the big Pikmin fan.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, those are fun games. I while not my cup of tea, like they're so in your wheelhouse. I
Mhm.
definitely see you playing them.
Oh yeah, I've enjoyed all of them.
Yes, excellent series. But let's go ahead and get to the main crux, the main topic, which of course again is video games based off of movies and TV shows. And as I mentioned before, this is sort of a celebration for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre video game, and I kind of want to discuss that, bringing that up in previous podcasts. Again, you can catch us on Apple Podcasts, I think via iTunes, as well as Spotify and Amazon Music, if you want to catch them. But Simbu and Storm have expressed a lot of excitement about this upcoming game, and for good reason, because I believe you guys had said that it was being made by the same guys that did the Friday the 13th game. Am I off base on that?
No, that is 100% correct. Gun Media is the developer of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, and anybody who played through the Friday the 13th, played the Friday the 13th game, knows the labor of love that they put into it. There is going to be some very, very, very massive changes to Texas Chainsaw, and this is stuff they learned from Friday the 13th, such as anybody who decided to venture the menus of Friday the 13th will find the cabin play option, and it takes you through like the main cabin at the camp, and then you go outside to the campgrounds, and then you go, like, it's a single player experience kind of thing, and you find all these cool Easter eggs and stuff like that. That is gone. They're not doing that with Texas Chainsaw. Anybody who's played the game, you can play with bots in Friday the 13th. Gone. They're not doing it for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And the reason is not because they want to have an always online experience, but they learned that making believable bots, making, good bots, good playing bots, and Astrimedes is over there just, it takes a lot of code. It takes a lot of time and effort. And if you ask me, I think that might be why some of the gameplay of Friday the 13th ended up being so rough at launch, because they were trying to do so much at once. They're trying to bring out this, big, massive experience instead of doing like what Dead by Daylight does, and, for the most part, and just being a online, kill each other kind of game.
Yeah, the other it seems like, as you mentioned that, like, yes, of course, like that makes perfect sense to me. Like, removing that as it's just a time sink to work on the AI like that. And the other thing too that can be rough about AI is, like, if the way the game works changes drastically, now the AI has to be updated too, sort of ripple effect sort of thing. But also the thing I was thinking as you said it, that's kind of a side benefit of this too, is that people will get a better experience that will undoubtedly be more like the experience they intended, probably, with humans than they would with whatever bots they could make. So, like, I think that will be potentially everyone will have like a more interesting game. The challenge, of course, though, is now you have to have the necessary player count to match people up and all that evenly, whereas it's a little easier to get away with, obviously, if you're throwing bots in there. Just had to chime in.
Yeah, right. And again, perfect perfect chime in right there. Great insights. But again, one of the big things too is that when you looked at Friday the 13th itself, its core gameplay, all the brokenness, all the, OP meta stuff that people could do, all the glitches that they could take advantages of, you got to think, had they not done, believable AI and single player experiences with that time sink that they, the time they wasted on adding that to the game, which not really wasted, but, in hindsight kind of feels like it was wasted. If they're now throwing all that kind of stuff out the window and focusing strictly on this online human interaction game, what is the game? How good is the gameplay itself going to be? Especially with all the lessons that they learned from Friday the 13th.
And they can help allocate some of those sources instead to have smoother internet connectivity on their end, maybe better presence on like data centers, even as rudimentary or utilitarian as that sounds. Simbu, that absolutely makes a whole heck of a lot of sense. And again, just as a quick precursor, it is coming out on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation consoles, as well as PC Steam on Friday. That again is August 18th. So I definitely recommend checking that out. I personally, I'm not a huge fan of horror games, but that doesn't mean that, you know, it's not something, it doesn't mean that it's not good, because this definitely is going to be an exciting game or entry, because Friday the 13th, once they got all that stuff ironed out, it quickly became a great game beyond like all the licensing issues I think you guys had mentioned before.
Yeah, the lawsuit of the original like creative writer versus Paramount and stuff like that. You know, they were, because of the lawsuit, you know, they weren't able to add new content, but they were able to support and refine what they already had. So they had plans to bring Jason X and a whole space level to the movie or to the game. But because of the lawsuit, that's considered new content, even though if you played all the way through the cabin mode, it was there. You got to walk through the space level and you got to see the Jason X model. But because it wasn't already playable in the game, it's considered, by the terms of the lawsuit, would be considered new content, or that's how Gun Media took it and was like, we're not going to chance it because we don't want to get drug into this kind of thing. One thing I do want to mention though about Texas Chainsaw Massacre is for those on last gen consoles, the Xbox One and the PS4, you guys are not going to have crossplay.
Ooh,
Crossplay
excellent
is
note.
strictly current gen PS5, XS, and PC only. So if you're looking to check out the game, just know that if you have a PS4 and I have a PS5, I'm not going to be able to play with you.
And also important to note that may limit the player base and individuals to be able to link up with, and it could increase higher amount of times to get into matches if you're only matching up with PS4 players, or you're the one of the 10,000 people in your town that has a Xbox One. It's going to take you that long to be able to connect. So you definitely, if you got them, you know, smoke them if you got them. If you have a current gen game, definitely do that. That's I did not know that, Simbu. Thank you. That's a good note to have. To know and have.
Yeah, they put that out in a huge press release because there was a lot of, you know, is crossplay enabled, because Friday the 13th, again, that never went crossplay. They had plans to bring crossplay, but the lawsuit froze that because, again, is that considered new content?
Yeah.
Even though it has nothing to do with Friday the 13th itself, that could be considered new content from the standpoint of a legal issue, you know, changing the game, so to speak.
So,
Oh
no, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joy. Go ahead, Simbu. Sorry.
I'm the level 5 grandpa over here.
We didn't do.
But yeah. Again, so they did a big press release because a lot of people were asking about it. They were talking about it. Is crossplay going to be at launch? Is it going to be a 1 month in update, you know, kind of thing like that? And they said nope. Gunn said, look, day one, crossplay enabled for current gen, you know, or as they titled, next gen, because, you know, last gen is still currently has a lot of users currently still. So yeah, they did bring that out and they did state it there. However many people actually saw that, again, another, you know, it's hit or miss, but again, anybody who decides to listen to this and listen to a level 5 old man here ramble on, just know that if you're on PS4 or Xbox One, you will not be able to match with anybody on, and that even goes PS4 to PS5, Xbox One to S or X. So you can't even play cross gen, never mind cross platform.
I never played the Friday the 13th game, but I really liked what I read about it. I like the idea of asymmetric kind of multiplayer games a lot, like games where people all have kind of different powers stuff. And I might have to try the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game.
Yeah, my experience with asymmetrical multiplayer is very limited to something like Doom Eternal, where you've got the two demons and the one Doom guy or Doom Hunter, and honestly that wasn't all that great. So I'm a lot more confident in this entry to be able to execute better. My question, and I'm going to direct this first at Storm. What about Texas Chainsaw Massacre are you most excited about?
That Kane Hodder did the mocap for the game. I love Kane. He became Jason in number 7. Yeah. And he is just my favorite Jason. We won't talk about him not getting to play Jason in Freddy versus Jason, but that's besides the point. So I'm most excited for that and playing online with people. I really liked playing Friday the 13th on the Switch, and I do have it on the PlayStation. I have to play around with some of the settings, though. It's too dark, so I have to adjust some of the light. I was running around, just running into stuff. I let the Jason kill me because I was like, I can't find my way out. It's too dark, and he scared the ever living crud out of me. Like, you can tell when he's come in and does this neat little, when you use their for Jason in the Friday the 13th game. Anyone who has not played it, you have several abilities as Jason, and one of them you get after a couple minutes of playing is his shift mode, where you can, kind of teleport yourself to another area, and like sneak up on people. Well, this guy used that and snuck up right behind me. Sometimes you'll get a static warning, like your screen will static, and oh no, Jason is near. Or you'll hear the cha-cha, which was ma cha-cha. Yeah, there's a story about that. Kill
ma, the first
yeah.
one, and then
Yeah, the first. Yeah. How they created that anyway. Friday the 13th is my favorite horror series. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a little bit about. I've seen some of the movies, of course, but yeah, I'm mostly excited to be able to play online and get to see the level 5 grandpa in action.
First Texas Chain. Go ahead.
Oh no, sorry, Astrimedes.
I was just gonna make a comment. The first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie is a dirty, grimy masterpiece. It's nowhere near as gory as it seems like it is. It's the coolest trick they pull.
Yeah.
Simbu, what are you most excited about for Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
I'm most excited for the fact that it's gonna be cross-platform. I have friends who, in the organization that I'm part of, called Scurry Face. We have a wide range of game players, and half of us are on Xbox, half of us are on PlayStation. So it's hard for us to find, all play games together that we'll all be interested in playing. Obviously, like Fortnite is cross-platform, but not pretty much nobody wants to play it because they don't really, enjoy it, and so it'll be nice. This is one that we're all really excited for. We're all excited to go, take our trip to Texas on Friday, and not only that, but I'm excited to see the world design, or I should say map design would be more accurate. Because again, when you saw those who played through Friday the 13th, the game, and they saw, just the labor of love that the game was for Gun Media. I'm excited to see like Easter eggs and little nods to the movie. What's really actually the one thing that I find very interesting though is the fact that Gun Media only has rights to the first Texas Chainsaw movie. They don't have rights to the entire series, just the first movie. So it's going to be very. I like that because along the lines of you only have access to one of like what 6 to 8 Texas Chainsaw movies. You only have access to one of them to use. So again, you can focus. Instead of trying to do too much too fast. Cool side note, they have one of the original character writers from the original movie that has worked on them with the game, which is why you have, I think his name is, you've got Cook, you've got the hitchhiker, and you've got Leatherface, obviously, but then you've got Sissy, and you've got another guy. It's another one of the family members. And those two, Sissy and the other guy, they were actually concept characters for the family that never made it into the movies.
Oh, that's neat.
Interesting.
So
I wonder if this is a strategic move on their part where they got the rights for only the one movie, and then later they can get the rights to another movie and make a sequel game all off just the second movie and do them kind of one by one if they really want and really hit big.
Also, I think the benefit of that series too is like honestly, you don't need the other movies. They don't really add much to like
That is true.
a game like this. All you need is like the setting of the first movie. I would add it might be fun to include bits and pieces from 2, which is just insane and weird and not even trying to be a horror movie. But that would be better as like weird unlockable content than mainline game content. But I think it's great that they only have the first one. It's gonna set the tone to have to match the first movie. They won't have a choice, which is good in my opinion.
Well, and the other thing about it is that they're playing cautious because of what happened with Friday the 13th. They spent all this money getting the rights to the entire franchise, only for it to blow up in their face. So they've said that they want to see how year 1 or whatever season 1 of TCM goes, and then they may start looking into licensing more from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre universe. And of course that would be different looks for Bubba, or maybe some other survivors from different movies, things like that.
It'd be cool to where maybe they make it more like have it its own live service type game and allow the second, third, and so on movies as like additional content, DLC, and maybe they get the eye of another horror franchise like Halloween, and then they have TCM, and then now they introduce a whole different game, a new game, Halloween, for example.
I was actually just gonna say, like, I wonder, to me, thinking about this, it almost seems like it'd be more profitable if you are going to acquire, more licenses, like a totally different movie. Like, what if they stay on this for 5 years or whatever? If they think that's the legs this game has, and then they pivot and they make a new game and it's a different franchise. That's when their rights expire or whatever. I don't know how long their rights are set for this game, but that seems like that could even be a viable approach too.
Right.
And they have a lot of options. Like you said, it sounds like they're keeping their options open with this choice.
Right.
And how long the game will capture and keep the interest of players. Simbu, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to throw out there that, again, you look at games like Dead by Daylight, which is a 4-on-1 asymmetrical versus game. And what they do is they just introduce new characters, new DLC, new maps, things like that you purchase. And that's something that TCM could end up doing, 6 months to a year from now. Go, hey, it's good, good success. All right, let's license the second movie and let's take an iconic location from the second movie and incorporate that into a map.
Sorry.
Sorry, guys.
Cats are attacking each other, and I forgot to mute myself for a second. I'm sorry.
Poor Simbu.
Also,
Yeah, I know, right?
Sorry, Simbo, were you did you have
No, go
more
ahead.
to add?
By all means.
I was just gonna say, depending how well this the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, that if they're gonna start doing a thing where they're gonna take every 70s or 80s slasher films and start making them into like these video games, because depending how well this one goes, will they start making or focusing on a Nightmare on Elm Street or Poltergeist or excuse me, Poltergeist is not a slasher film, but
Hmm.
you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
Like to focus on
other
like a
horror type
ring
franchises.
or
Yeah.
throw a
Things
ring
with the
in
same
there.
premise, like
Yes,
particularly slasher movies, essentially. Like once this formula's established, you could basically kind of adapt it to any slasher movie. Though what's interesting about, from what I know about the design of these games, is they are very kind of movie and character first in the way they
Mhm.
kind of try to design all the interactions and everything. So maybe not. Like obviously though, at least in terms of like developers that make these kinds of horror games, you know, every time they're going to get better at doing it. So if they turn their attention to a new thing, I'm sure that, you know, chances
Yeah.
are they do it well.
I wonder, because Halloween, I just did a quick little Google look at it, and Halloween was released as a chapter in Dead by Daylight
Hmm.
Yeah.
a couple of years ago now,
Yeah,
so it was a
Friday
separate
the
thing you
third.
could get.
Yeah. Yep. You can get Michael Myers, you can get Ghostface, you can get Freddy Krueger, you can get Bubba, Bubba. You can get a lot of the 80s slashers. The only one they don't have is I can think of is Jason Voorhees himself. And I think that has to do with the Friday the 13th game that came out, plus the Friday the 13th lawsuit. So that they also have Pig from the Saw franchise.
But
Ah,
one of the things though is having those characters as DLC is very different than actually having them in their own game. Like you can play as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the Injustice games as well as Street Fighter 6, but they have their own games, and those games have their own identities. So even though like Bubba would be in TCM, or I'm sorry, as DLC in Dead by Daylight, in TCM, the game has him and the family and the level 5 grandpa and everybody as their own identity, and that I think that goes a long way versus just being DLC in of itself.
Right, where it's more like just a suit of that character rather than a game designed around them.
Exactly. Kind of getting let's pivot to more a general sort of part of this topic. And again, I'm throwing ET out the window here. This is ET the video game from the Atari, because that's too easy a target. I want to know, what are some of the worst video games based off of movies or TV shows you've played? And Jason, I see you thinking. You're thinking there, so I'm calling
for
on you
the
first.
worst. For the
Yep,
worst
the
game.
worst.
Ooh. I was gonna say I could think of quite a few games that I played that have all been based off of movies, but the worst one. Let's
Yeah,
see.
what would be the worst one?
So I remember some of the old ones, like there was an Addams Family game that was pretty bad. Was it?
Oh, it was fun.
Was
That was fun. I enjoyed that one.
Either Judge Dredd or RoboCop had a game that I played, and I can't remember that one all too well.
Both of those had a game.
Oh,
Yeah, I
I'm
was
sure
gonna
they
say.
did. I'm just trying to think of like the worst, and I can't think of one that just sticks out above the others that was like really bad.
While you're kind of thinking, because
Mhm.
you did give a couple good examples. Storm, how about you? The worst video games based off of either TV shows or movies?
More recently, I mean, back in the day, it was some stupid Terminator game. I don't remember what I played it on. Or recently though, there's a new Avengers type game that we got on the PlayStation. It's awful. It's just
Ooh,
I don't
which-
like it.
Is that the Avengers by Square Enix?
I think so.
Okay.
And it just like nobody looks like anybody. not that they have to, but there's random characters in there that just don't make sense to me in the universe. So I played it just a little bit and watched my better half play it just a little bit. I was like, nope, I'm noping out because it is just canon that I don't like of it. And that's just my personal opinion. So yeah.
And
That's
say
where-
Jason the 13th and I actually fairly extensively played that for a while to give us
Yes, we
something else to do.
See,
Yeah, it's funny because I've heard more people have Storm's opinion than not, but it overall was a pretty polarizing game for a number of reasons done by Square Enix, and it's not Crystal Dynamics, but I forget who else published that with them. But
I'm
yeah,
going to double check.
I've definitely heard that before. Jamie Owls, how about you? What are some of the worst TV show / movie based off video games you played?
The worst that I've ever played was Jaws for PlayStation 2. I believe it came out in 2006. I believe. I could be wrong. It had different levels, and none of the levels were related to the movies at all. Like each level had its own like quest you had to do. And there were a lot of glitches that happened. And I remember, trying to play a level and then somehow my shark ended up on the beach swimming around. But what I ended up just doing when I'm bored, I would just swim around and just eat people. So that's all I did. But that's only for me, that's the only game I ever played that was awful, that was based off of a movie or show.
For me, I'm going to jump in before, excuse me, I tag in Astrimedes. Besides the cavalcade of LJN games on the original NES, probably Three Stooges on the NES is one of the worst ones I've played.
I never got to play that game.
Be glad you didn't, because it's a series of like mini games, kind of like how what is it? Not Virtual Bart, but Bart's Nightmare for the SNES, kind of like that, except the mini games, instead of being, mediocre at best, they're all just terrible. And the graphics are just not great, and yeah, it doesn't even capture that whole Three Stooges kind of feeling. At least I didn't feel like that. That's probably my worst. Astrimedes, how about you? Worst video game based on TV's movies?
The two that kind of come to mind, I don't have super clear memories of them, but I remember both of these. The impression was kind of indecipherable and frustrating. Back to the Future on NES. I remember like there being some weird, it was like at the end of the first level or something, like some weird thing you had to do to get through. It like felt impossible. I don't remember it really specifically, but we rented a lot of games. So it was definitely like one we only rented once. But then the other one I remember slightly more about, not a whole lot more. Ghostbusters on NES also. I remember like the thing I specifically remember for that game is like all four Ghostbusters on the stairs and trying desperately to press a button to get them to move or maybe move faster. There was some frustrating mechanic where you had to very slowly move up the stairs while things like attacked you or something. And it was just I remember being very kind of like clunky and weird feeling, and definitely not capturing that Ghostbusters feeling you'd want with a video game on the NES.
Oh my God. I remember that. We kind of did the same thing growing up, where we're renting all these NES games. I remember playing both of them, unfortunately. My next question, I'm going to be tagging you on as well, Astrimedes, but I do want to know, Simbu, what is the worst video game based off of TV show or movies that you've played?
I show a lot of love to the most recent Friday the 13th. However, it had some of the roughest roots ever. And of course, I'm talking about Friday the 13th on the NES.
Yes.
Purple and blue Jason.
That was a rough one too.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't hate that, actually. I do remember the game. I remember it also being a bit indecipherable and weird, but way less indecipherable than those other games, and at least it
I'm
was a
not
little
saying-
bit scary.
And of course, I'm not saying I hated the game, but that is the worst of the games I've played.
Out of all of the LGN disasters, so you said Friday the 13th, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Nightmare on Elm Street, I've actually heard is decent. Out of all the LGN crap fests, that one is actually mediocre, just because it had that whole day night cycle, and where the night you never knew when Freddy Krueger would come to get you. If I'm remembering it right, with the
If I
platforming.
remember correctly, I believe it was based off of. I think it was either based off of Dream Warriors or spawned the movie Dream Warriors.
Yeah, well, it's
Oh,
just I
Lord.
just remember it not sucking. It didn't suck. So
Unfortunately, I did not really have access to that game, so I think I may have played it once, and that was for probably like 5 or 10 minutes. I didn't really get much time with it. Unfortunately, I wish now I would have gotten more time with that game.
and so we're kind of talking about like the bad of the bad, worst of the worst. Again, we're not mentioning our little alien friend ET. Astrimedes, I kind of want to get your feedback on this. What do you feel would make a video game based off a TV show or movie? Like what does it need to do to be good? I want your developer and gaming acumen on that.
I think in order to be good, it has to be designed from the ground up with that movie, those characters in mind, to kind of create the experience, versus the alternative being take a franchise and slap it on top of something else, and like, oh, let's clone this game that's popular right now, and we'll put these characters from the franchise we have, the movie we have rights to or whatever in it. I think it's the worst way to go about designing it. But on the other hand, the danger, of course, with trying, and this is maybe it's even possible, is why some of these other games we were talking about that were so bad fell down. Like maybe it's too risky to try to design them to match the movie, because at the end of the day, you might have something that kind of on paper ticked all the boxes for it should feel like this movie, but turned out it wasn't fun and it was bad. And now you've sunk all that development time into doing that. So I think though you need to nail like the feeling of what that is, and that includes both. I guess actually I would even reduce the statement to, you need to nail the feeling of what the movie makes you feel. It maybe doesn't even involve the characters in the movie. Like you could do something that is a set in the world of the movie, like for example, like Mad Max kind of games. I think a game that nails Mad Max does not have to have any characters that appeared in any Mad Max movie, but just feels like you're in that sort of setting. So yeah, I'd say nail the feeling the movie gives you is like what you have to do.
And that's a really great concept. And to kind of show that, before we had the podcast, Simbu and I and the team here were discussing about, what video games we were going to talk about. And Simbu gave me a myriad of awesome, excellent video games that do exactly what you just said at Astrimedes. They're based in the world. They're not actually based off of the exact movies or anything like that, but they're based off the worlds that they're located in. Like Simbu's got a whole ton of great Star Wars experience, where Star Wars KOTOR is probably one of the greatest examples of that. Even something like a little more old school, like Rogue Squadron, would be another good example of that. And
Shadows of the Empire.
Yes. The Aliens game that you would, the 2014
Alien
one.
Isolation.
Yep.
From everything on a little bit of research that I did online, just on like games based on franchises, movie franchises, Aliens Isolation was on number one for a number of these lists and everything. And I do want to have a discussion at some point, another day, another topic, about just like video game franchises as a whole, because like you said, it can really nail that feeling, as it were. Now, going back to the games where it's just you're limited to just what it's based off of, what do you guys think are some of the best video games based off of movies or TV shows? My examples, I've got right here, and my number one easily is going to be Scott Pilgrim versus the world, the game, because not only is this really based off the movie, maybe not even so much the movie, it's kind of based off the comic book,
Comics, yeah.
but it just everything with this, it hit with the River City Ransom like gameplay, the RPG mechanics, the many different levels, the bosses, the music, the characters, the graphics. I mean, in my opinion, this is like a 10 out of 10 sort of a basis of that. And I was going to say recent. It's not recent. It's about 12 years old now. But that's just kind of like my example on there. I'm going to put Jamie Owls on the spot. Jamie Owls, what do you believe are some of the best video games you've played that are based on movies or TV shows?
So growing up, I remember as a kid, I owned some of them, but not all of them. But I would rent from Blockbusters for the Super Nintendo, the Looney Tune games. I remember I had one with Daffy Duck. I owned Tasmanian Devil one. Also, I remember renting a Tom and Jerry one, which I remember always having fun with. Also, as a kid, I had the Power Rangers one, and I believe for the Super Nintendo or the Sega, I can't remember which, but I owned the Beavis and Butthead. Me and my brother used to play that together.
That's
But the one the one that I was my favorite to this day is the Lion King, because of course that has always been my favorite Disney movie growing up. So also
Lion King and Aladdin.
yeah. Oh gosh, what's that cartoon?
Tiny Toons?
Tiny Toons, yes,
Yes,
thank
the
you.
Tiny Toons
Oh,
Adventures
Tiny
game.
Toons
That
was
was
a
so
great
fun.
game.
That'd make my list too.
Yeah, so that one I really enjoyed. And not too long ago, I would say maybe it was at least 5 years ago, I tried playing it, and yeah, it's a great game. Like, I have a lot of good memories, and now that I'm talking about all of this, I really want to go back and play all those Looney Tune games now. I need to look for them.
Yeah, I got them all on the Steam Deck for you.
Cool.
Simbu, what are some of your favorite, like the favorite / best video games you've played based off of movies and TV shows?
You know, I'm pretty sure, anybody who knows me is expecting me to say like Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, back on, the Super Star Wars games and stuff like that. No, I am going with Lego.
Ooh, like the Lego movie?
The Lego movie game, the Lego Skywalker Saga, Lego Indiana Jones, Lego Pirates of the Caribbean,
Lego Jurassic Park,
Lego Jurassic World. I
Yep.
mean, you play it, you can't go any more. This is the movie, because you literally play through the movies.
Yeah, you're 100% correct, because I've seen the Harry Potters 1 through 4 be played just exactly the same way, and you are totally correct.
And of course, they add some fun mechanics in there too, like puzzle solving and stuff like that. So it's not just, oh, we go from here and up, droidicas, kill droidicas, go on. It's like there's little puzzles, around, and little like fun Legos, and of course it's Lego, so it's very family friendly. It's very cheeky humor. It's a lot of fun.
And they've really done a really good job to make those like the Lego Drive series. It's not the newest Lego Drive game. Obviously, it's not a movie, so maybe it's not part of the topic. But I've heard that absolutely is a fantastic racer in of itself. As Simbu mentioned, the Skywalker Saga. Man, that is such a good call, Simbu. I like it. That is awesome. I like it. Storm. What are some of your what do you feel are the best video games based off of movies, TV shows?
And it's not only just because we talked about it, but I absolutely think Friday the 13th, without a doubt, the newer one by Gun Media. They really did a fantastic job. As a fan of the series, I love going in the cabin and looking at all the stuff and all the little things that they painted such good attention to the detail of those cabins in certain areas that you'll see little things from the movie. So yeah, that would be my favorite. Also, I'm not minding the remastered Ghostbusters that I've been playing. So because I love the Ghostbusters movie, both 1 and 2. So those are fun, and most definitely though Friday the 13th, because I'm just a Jason fan. So there you go.
I'll hear that, Jason. You got a fan.
You do. Well,
I
you
can see
know,
the size of his head getting bigger.
Yeah.
I had
If Jason was clever, he'd move his head closer to the camera and literally get it bigger.
but now that you called him out on it.
Yeah, I know.
Way to go.
Little late
Inferno. Yeah, right.
Speaking of Jason, what are your field that you are like the best?
Well, we
Video
hit
games based off of
we
TV.
hit 2 games that would have been on my list, the Tiny Toons. But other ones I didn't get to play it a lot, but the Alien games were fun. Even though I didn't play a lot of them, they were really good. I have not played them, but I'm surprised Simbu or Storm have not mentioned the South Park games that everyone says those are such good games.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
minute.
Oh my god!
Wait.
Wait! No,
Wait,
I
wait,
feel
no,
like
mission.
an idiot. Like I feel stupid because I
Hold on,
totally
no,
forgot about that.
I want to caveat this one. I want to asterisk it. Those are on my list. However, according to Inferno Fox's criteria for this,
Because
it's specifically based on a movie or a TV show. The
Well, it's
South
a
Park
TV
games
show.
are not based off of the show itself.
they're their own entities. They're their own
They're their
episodes.
own game.
Their own episodes, their own games. Whereas like Tiny Toons, Buster Bust Loose is a combination of 6 levels that literally are pulled from 6 different episodes.
Right. Yep.
from
Different
the show.
episodes. Yep.
The only thing with the South Park games is that they're pulled from the characters are pulled from the South Park episodes, but
Right.
the story itself is completely
new.
an original story. It's
And-
not
and-
like you're playing
okay.
through.
All right.
And trust me, we're definitely going to be talking about that and like the Aliens Isolation when we have our
Yes.
video game franchises discussion, because that's going to be it's a thing where video game franchise games are really kind of like, oh, you immediately think, oh, it's going to be crappy because they have to do Rambo, but Rambo it ends up being a really oddly good NES game that has RPG mechanics and its own sort of playability. It's because it's based off of it, but not directly. Although that's a bad example because that game is based directly off the movie. So
Lines get very blurry here.
yes. Speaking of,
Real quick,
go ahead, Jason.
I was gonna say most of the games I have played that are off of the movies, other than like the Lego ones and Tiny Toons, aren't quite following the movie exactly. So that's a hard one for that specific question.
Astrimedes, how about you? What are the best what you feel were the best video games based off of movies or TV shows?
So probably the best in terms of just like probably the best game overall, possibly 2 picks. Dune 2 Battle for Arrakis on PC is like it basically created the current well-defined version of what a real-time strategy game is. So interesting that it's actually kind of based. I guess Dune is. I guess the time is actually more based on a book. So that should be stricken from the record as it does not meet criteria.
I mean, we didn't say
it wasn't
books or
based on the
comics, but
movie.
like
Well,
maybe
it's. I just
we'll
realized
allow it
as I
because
said
it's
I
based
was
off of
thinking
direct
Dune because
media.
it's a movie, but yeah, we can strike that one off
If
the
you're going
list.
if you're going that,
I
specific,
have several others.
a lot of
but
other
so-
movies are based off of books.
Yeah, well, yeah, but at the time it was actually just a book. I think when this game came,
Ah.
the David Lynch Dune movie may have been out, which maybe shouldn't count. But anyway, another one I'd actually echo what you said, Inferno Fox. Scott Pilgrim versus the World, surprisingly good game, and interestingly, it actually sort of does both of what I was kind of outlining as I'm guessing these are what your two options are with making a movie-based game. You can either make something totally original or take an existing game and throw your characters into it. They like sort of did both because the movie and comics topic already is kind of intertwined with all that old school video game stuff. So it's like by picking an old school video game, throwing them in there, it actually stays kind of on brand in terms of theming and everything. So that was a really kind of smart and good choice and well executed game. And a lot of people are like baffled by this game, and I certainly wouldn't say it makes me think of the movie at all, but the Jaws game on NES, I actually remember really liking.
Oh no. Oh.
It was, probably now if I played it, it'd be a bad game. I intentionally did not revisit it. I'll just let my memories what they are. But I just remember I kind of liked like the game loop, and I've encountered people referencing that game now and saying this is an early roguelike game. This game follows a lot of conventions of what like roguelikes do now. It's highly randomization based, like where everything's going to happen is random every time you play, because the game is really just you randomly hit jaws now, you randomly hit this here, you randomly got this many fish or whatever. So and it's a like run based thing, you play for a while, you either win or lose and you're dead. But yeah, so anyway, I think the Jaws game on NES from memories only. I remember liking it because it was
Now,
kind of something different.
I find it interesting. So we had six of us talking about what we think are the best. None of us said GoldenEye 007 or The World Is Not Enough or anything like that. And in Astrimedes, you talk about memories. That's a game that looks good in our memories, but certainly doesn't look good now, at least in my opinion.
Yes.
Quick comment on that. I never played that game solo player through, so I couldn't tell you that it was fully based off the movie. I only remember playing it in group sessions where we all tried to just kill each other.
I think
Yes.
that's
That
like
is true.
90% of people's experience with the game, basically.
There's another game that I played based off a movie that I really liked, and it's funny. It was Kung Fu Panda for the Xbox. It wasn't a bad game, and I made it all the way through and beat it. So that's a success. But no, it was fun for what it was. So there you go.
That's why it wasn't a bad game, because she beat it.
Yes, exactly.
It was
There-
beatable.
there-
It was doable.
There are a couple more I remember too. Surprisingly, I was able to list a few games based on movies that were actually kind of good. But the Indiana Jones LucasArts games on PC were actually really good adventure games, and they were very trying to go for like the archaeologist side of like the Indiana Jones vibe, basically.
Because there were three of them on the original NES. Two were garbage, and there was one that was decent. And I think the young Indiana Jones one was decent, if memory serves.
I never played the NES games ones. I only played the PC ones. Was it like an adventure game where it was kind of like you walked and interacted with puzzles sort of thing?
Yeah, exactly. And like where
actiony?
the puzzle for one of the Indiana Jones ones was a puzzle one where like you kind of like Prince of Persia type movement, and then you do have to put together puzzle pieces to put like a pot together or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not good. But the young Indiana Jones one was more kind of still that Prince of Persia gameplay style, but a lot more streamlined and better, and just better platforming action overall.
Okay. Yeah, the PC ones were like pure kind of puzzle adventure game stuff. But yeah, those are actually pretty well regarded in terms of like the way the games were designed and stuff. People think the puzzles were actually pretty clever and all that. But also like I kind of remember these are like kind of more honorable mentions, I'd say, but Jurassic Park on Sega Genesis, I remember actually being kind of fun. I remember you could play as either Grant or the Velociraptor, and I remember just kind of liking. I think I mainly just liked, it probably wasn't really a good game, but I remember being a game that maybe captured my imagination somehow. Regardless, it was probably just playing as the dinosaur in a Jurassic Park game. But then the Mad Max game that came out probably, I don't know, 8 years ago, something like that. It came out for consoles and I think later PC. I bought it on PC, and I don't think it's great, but it was pretty entertaining for a little while I played it. Like and I played it as part of a deep dive into car combat games as I was investigating games since Twisted Metal have come out. But yeah, I thought that one was okay. So yeah, that'd be my surprisingly long list of games based on movies that I actually thought were kind of good.
I was gonna say, if we're gonna get honorable mentions, I'm gonna go with Jurassic Park, the game, but not the same one you are. I'm going to go with the 360 one, where it's
I don't
more of
think
a
I played that.
Telltale game. It's
Oh,
more of like a
okay.
Telltale series game where you're following a character who's on the island when it happens, but you're following him and his daughter trying to get off the island. And of course, you go through the iconic locations.
And to that end, we got a couple really good additional topics to kind of discuss regarding this, just like the franchises like the franchise version, as Jason had said, like the South Park games, Stick of Truth and the Fractured Butthole, as well as even like SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, even though Storm wasn't as good for her. It's probably one of the best SpongeBob platformers, even like Simpsons Hit and Run, that was a good set of games. DuckTales, DuckTales for the NES, a bunch of the TMNT games early, because I'm a boomer gamer and I like the all the games on that Cowabunga collection. These are good. We'll touch on these when we get kind of discuss like large franchises on video game systems, as well as so we talked about movies, video games based off of movies and TV shows. Well, what about movies and TV shows based off of video games? We're going to touch upon that on a future topic, because you got obviously the Mario movie. You know, it grossed over $1 billion. You know, Bob Hoskins, Dennis Hopper, John Leguizamo. It's an instant classic. It might be 30 years old, but was that $1 billion? Maybe $1 million. And like all the Mortal Kombat movies and everything like that. I mean, you got a lot of really good media there in of itself. That'll be a topic, and I hope that everyone here can not only join us for that, but also you, the audience, please join us for that'll be coming soon, as well as other topics in regards to video games. And again, as we wrap up, just want to thank everyone both here on my crew, as well as all the audience, for joining. Just a brief note on what I got coming up on a video on Inferno Fox Gaming. It's running through the underappreciated game of Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge for the Game Boy. And my crew here is probably like, wait, well, deja vu, didn't you just say that? Yes, I pushed this review out a week because I did a Steam Deck 1 year in type video that I got done quick enough to where I wanted to release that and let some of let a lot of individuals view that, and actually it got a lot of good coverage. So if you're joining us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Amazon Music, again, check out my YouTube channel at Inferno Fox Gaming. But again, huge thanks to my crew here for joining us. We of course have Simbu Darkfang. He is at Basement of the Dead in Aurora, Illinois. That again, Basement of the Dead, Aurora, Illinois. Simbu, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Hey, it's always fun. Wasn't quite exactly the criteria I was thinking when you first mentioned the topic, but you know, it's a good one. And of course, you know, like you said, we're gonna hit the opposite of that in the near future.
Yeah, definitely want to check us out for that. And thank you again, Stormrosesky. You of course can find her on Twitch and YouTube at Stormrosesky. Storm, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and yeah, look forward to the next. And I had something funny to say and then I lost it, so there you go.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Jason the 13th, thank you so much for joining us. You'll find him at the YouTube channel of Jason the 13th for gameplay videos of Fork Knife, Tears of the Kingdom, and of course Pokemon. Jason, thank you so much for jumping in.
Not a problem. I always enjoy being in this with this crew here.
Absolutely. And Astrimedes, he of course is a developer and co-owner of Second Place Games. Astrimedes, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It was a surprisingly good discussion on a topic that I initially was a bit horrified.
Excellent. Glad that we could meet your expectations, or maybe not meet them if we were able to
Exceeded my very
Exceeding
low
them.
expectations.
And of
All
course,
right,
my
he's at
partner,
like a 1, and we hit like a 1.1. Yes.
come on, give us a little credit. 1.12 there.
No, 1.11.
Okay, well,
Best
we'll
I can
take
do.
it. And of course, Jamie Owls, my partner in crime. Thanks again for joining us, Jamie Owls.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This was actually a very fun topic.
Absolutely. And again, this was of course dedicated to the game The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, coming out this Friday, August 18th on all major consoles, both current gen and last gen. Simbu has stated good kind of FYI, no crossplay for last gen consoles, Xbox One, the VCR, of course, the PS4, but crossplay is available on current gen PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC/Steam, and hopefully we'll be able to see y'all on there. Thanks again, everybody, and have a great day.